Hey, it's Whitney with Reduce the Stigma, as well as Abby, and down here is Ziggy. Today we're going to talk about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, because motivation comes into everything in our life, from getting out of bed to what kind of job or passion we pursue. It's really embedded in everything going on in our world. But there are two main types. There's the intrinsic and the extrinsic. And, these come into play. They have different roles, different purposes, and we can utilize them to really help us reach our goals. But it's important to understand them and understand how it can also kind of be misunderstood. So Abby and Ziggy are going to help me out, but we're going to get there. Let's first talk about what intrinsic motivation is. So intrinsic is that internal drive, the things you do, and I'm sorry, Ziggy is already messing with my camera. So let's talk about intrinsic motivation first. Intrinsic motivation is the stuff you do because of the pure joy it brings you. So that can be a hobby that you enjoy engaging in. It could be playing. Right now, Ziggy has some intrinsic motivation to play with Abby. Abby, not so much. That's okay. We'll get there. So intrinsic is whenever it's coming from within you. It's moving from inside of you to take action of some sort. And now, this is important to understand that motivation does not equal action, right? We can be motivated, we can want something, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to act on it. So we may need to revisit that in another video, and let me know in the comments below if you think we should. But intrinsic, again, it's all about that pure joy you get, right? It's, for me, ice cream, playing with my dogs, going for a walk, things that just naturally bring me joy, and I know that they're going to bring me joy, so I'm going to engage in them. Extrinsic motivation, it is all that external stuff. It can be pressure from outside. It could be, if you do this, you will receive blank in return. And so we recognize that external is different, because it can also be a very temporary thing. We may be motivated to get that reward or that job or what have you, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with us, so it's probably not going to stick around as much. This can come into play with things like court-mandated treatment, or requiring certain things of someone before they maybe get a certain thing in their life. While it can have that short-term benefit of compliance, it may not necessarily lead to long-term continuation, because it's not aligning with who they are and their internal motivation. All right, so I had my dogs with me for a reason, because I knew that eventually they would do something that I don't want them to do, but they want to do. And so you can see Ziggy was digging, because he's intrinsically motivated to do that. Now what he's doing since I came over to him is he's looking for the treats, because he knows I have a treat pouch on, which means he is extrinsically motivated to sit. See how he sits so nicely? Because he knows a treat means sit, and then he'll get it. And as you can see, Miss Abby is doing the same thing. She's extrinsically motivated by the treat. Now, Abby's pretty much a little bit of a loner. She likes to do her own thing, and so she's not really going to listen to me for the fun of it. She's only going to listen to me whenever she wants a treat. So if I were to say, just in general, Abby, come here. See, Abby doesn't want to come here. She's saying, no thanks, Mom. But if I say, Abby, you want a treat? Abby, come here. Come on. Look at that. See that extrinsic motivation? That's what happens for us too. Now I can take that treat away. I can say extrinsic motivation gone. Abby's probably not going to listen to me. But whenever it's something that they want to do, when they want to dig, they're going to keep doing it because it makes them feel good. So think about that. What makes you feel good? What problems do you want to solve? Tap into that intrinsic motivation. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It doesn't have to be solving the world's issues. It just has to be what makes you come alive, because what makes you come alive is what you're going to be the best at doing. And there's a lot of passion there, right? And it's going to keep feeding. It's going to fuel itself, because whenever you tap into it, whenever you're doing that thing, you're rewarding your intrinsic motivation, which is going to rev it up even more. So as much as extrinsic motivation can be really exciting, let's look at that internal. Think about something you love to do. When you engage in it, it's not hard, right? It's not taking a lot of your energy. If anything, it's energizing you. It's fueling you. So that intrinsic motivation is going to be like a rewarding process, and it's going to keep refueling yourself so you can keep doing it more and more. Think about how hard it is whenever there's an extrinsic motivation. That's whenever you have to be like, oh, okay, I have to do this because that's the only way I'll get X. grades, you know, or I'll get that certificate, or I'll reach that benchmark, or what have you. Well, that's not that fun, right? Instead, tap into the passion. Ask yourself, what makes me come alive? Whatever makes you come alive is what you're going to excel at. So find a way to use that whatever brings you alive for your intrinsic motivation, and then you can apply it to different things. You really want to cultivate that intrinsic motivation, and to do that, it takes a lot of awareness. And why it's important is because, again, extrinsic, it's temporary, right? Someone can take away the certification, they can take away the promotion, they can take away whatever. If it's outside of you, you don't control it, right? But whenever you have intrinsic motivation, when you are pursuing things that align with you, then you're going to be more resilient, you're going to be more creative. How do we get more intrinsic motivation in our life? Well, think about what makes you happy. What do you enjoy? Just engage in some self-awareness, right? And ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because of an extrinsic motivation? And yes, again, sometimes that's okay. I'm not saying you can never be extrinsically motivated. But life's going to be better when we are engaging in more things that are intrinsically motivated, right? Remember, it's when we come alive that intrinsic motivation is taking place. And we all need to just do more things that bring us life, right? That bring us joy. So think about that. What brings joy to your life? That's a source of extrinsic motivation. And you can take that then and apply it to different situations, right? So I love playing with my dogs, and I'll use anything as a reason to hang out with them, including making a video, right? So my dogs getting to hang out with them was part of my motivation to do this video, because I thought, hey, it'll be really fun. Well, their intrinsic motivation is to not do any of the things that I was hoping they would do. And that's kind of how intrinsic motivation works. It's about what we want to do in that moment, what is good for us, what makes us feel good. And so that's okay, right? If I really, really, really want them to do something, I can externally motivate them. But it's going to be short term. They're going to go back to laying down because I'm going to remove the reward. And so we have to think about that. That is such a great example of how, extrinsic motivation can be great. It can get something started. For it to be really effective long term, though, it has to come from within. So let me know what you think. What's your intrinsic motivation sources? What do you do that brings you alive? Comment below and let us know if you want more of these videos. And if we get 100 likes within the first 72 hours, I promise you will get more Abby and Ziggy content. And hopefully they'll be a little bit more lively. But until then, give us your feedback. Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear about. And I'm thinking that maybe one of the videos we'll do in the future is a video on how you can be motivated, how you can really want something, but then there are different types of barriers, physical barriers, mental barriers, because sometimes, the motivation alone isn't enough. Can't wait to hear what you think.